10 years ago, a man shot and killed 20 children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook Elementary School. It's one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history, and people hoped it would be the last, but far from it.
School shootings, of course, have still happened in other schools, most recently in Uvalde, Texas. In an Oklahoma Zone original report, News on 6's Reagan Ledbetter looks into what Green Country schools, both big and small, are doing now to protect children on campus.
Most schools in Green Country, no matter the size, have secure entrances, security cameras, keep doors locked policies, and other safety measures in place. School leaders and law enforcement officers say training and being mentally prepared are just as important.
Every one of us think of these kids as our kids. We want to protect them with our life.
School safety is everyone's job.
It's a 24/7 job. Any event that happens at a school, we feel it tremendously.
Each time children get murdered at a school, panic sets in for superintendents, teachers, students, and parents. They're all wondering, what if this happened at my school?
You never want to develop that mindset that we must be safe. That couldn't happen here, because that's obviously the first reaction that people have when any kind of disaster happens.
I met with school leaders at different districts and asked, what have you done since Sandy Hook to improve school security? I found safety and security are now at the very top of the priority list. But one of the biggest challenges is overcoming the mindset of, oh, it won't happen here.
We don't take it for granted. And I think you don't become complacent and you don't go, we've got this figured out now. This policy that we've got and this practice works. It's great. We developed it from wherever else and this will cover us. I think you have to have the mindset that you always have to evaluate that.
Dr. Philip Garland is in his 4th year as superintendent of Liberty Public Schools, where kindergarten through 12th grade are all on one campus. Dr. Garland has spent most of his life working in education, but also worked in a prison and understands security.
And to look at things like the perimeter, what you can do to reduce and slow down people from coming into the perimeter to begin with, and then accessing the buildings and slow them down is a big factor in what you're trying to do.
The district has added fencing around the campus and removed barriers so a suspect has fewer places to hide. To get inside the buildings, you have to pass through a security system.
Can I help you?
Jenks Public Schools have poured more than $5 million into security over the last 10 years.
You know, every time there's a tragic event, it doesn't even have to be at a school. It could be in a community, it could be at a restaurant, at a clothing store. We look at our plans and procedures and we start to ask the questions, do we have gaps?
COO Jeffrey Byers says the biggest change since Sandy Hook is how schools are built. Jenks schools have limited entrances, specifically positioned parking lots, and no one gets inside without going through a security checkpoint. Not only do a lot of schools have secure entrances where there's only one way in each building, a lot of schools run background checks on each school visitor. This is the first layer of security at schools. This system runs the names of all visitors through violent and sex offender registries. Byers says all students are required to wear an ID and scan them to get into buildings. Byers says teachers and staff are trained to identify potential threats, and a new Trojan tip line allows students and parents to report anything anonymously.
We are all on duty to report concerns, and acts of indiscriminate violence can take place anywhere.
Tulsa Public Schools has those same security measures, as well as a full-time campus police department. The district says it focuses on prevention, training, and building relationships with students so they feel comfortable reporting potential threats.
We learn and study those situations. We consult with subject matter experts so that we are constantly improving our practices and keeping our kids safe.
What do we know about school shooters?
Oklahoma school resource officers spent 3 days in Tulsa training this summer. Mike Stasissin works with the Sequoyah County Sheriff's Office and has been a resource officer for the last 15 years. He has seen the school security changes firsthand.
That was the biggest problem we had, is that the classrooms aren't locked, school doors aren't locked. We're trying to educate, as SROs, we're trying to educate about maintain the security of your school.
What we want the most is for kids to actually go to school, to a place that is supposed to be safe and be safe. And that's what we work hard 24/7 is so that that happens.
In Tulsa, Reagan Ledbetter, Oklahoma's Own News on 6.